The following dialogue is taken from an article by Dr. Peter Haunofsky, founder of Sister Lucy Truth, and head of the Fatima investigation. John Paul II receives a letter from Roberto Calvi indicating to him that Calvi knows why the Vatican Bank has been laundering money for the mafia. 12 days later, Calvi is found hanging off of Blackfriars Bridge, killed in a ritualistic Masonic way. But we are to believe that John Paul II would not use the faked persona of Sister Lucy. Absurd. Let us, at Sister Lucy Truth, be clear. Based upon evidence, conversations, and reflections we had, within the last 5 years of this investigation, we are accusing the Vatican and the leadership of the Vatican, with the murder, and cover-up of the murder of Sister Lucy dos Santos, Messenger of Fatima. We also accuse those various ones with the replacement perpetrated from at least May 13, 1967 to 2005, when the impostor died. No saint would in any way participate in such grave and sacrilegious crimes. We also condemn the woman who took the place of Sister Lucy of Fatima on the world stage. Her identity is still unknown. However, there is no doubt that hers is a grave crime and sacrilegious theft, and she engaged in a perverted use of the persona of the very messenger of heaven, for our time. This strange woman endorsed exactly what the real Sister Lucy would have condemned. The substitution makes all the difference in the world. The final go-ahead for a hit against such a world-famous seer and religious icon could not have come from anyone other than from the man sitting at the top of the Vatican hierarchy. We know exactly who used this faked persona to advance their own agenda and their own personality cult. We also know who spent 3 decades covering up the imposture and presiding over the intentional distortion of the meaning of the third secret, and of the entire Fatima message. We accuse John the 23rd, Paul the 6th, John Paul II, and Benedict the 16th. These, along with the impostor herself, are clearly guilty of grave crimes in this regard. Any questions? Dr. Peter Haunofsky, founder of Sister Lucy Truth and head of the Fatima investigation.
Now, when you have someone like a specialist such as Lois Gibson,
yes,
clearly stating that, oh, there's no way that these two people could be the same,
yes,
same individual.
Yes.
Where are you exactly in the investigation? Why hasn't it exactly stopped there?
Right. Well, you'd think it would stop there and with these others, because we have plastic surgeons and other reports that, clearly identify that these are 2 different people, plus the facial recognition technology that's used by the FBI, the police departments all over the country. Now we're putting everything together and handing it over to some forensic specialists, and they're gonna come up with another report. They're getting what they need and looking at the evidence. Once we do that, then we're going to take it as we've done everything we can with the latest technology, and then it's a matter of putting this information on the internet, making it sort of bringing the whole question to the mainstream media, because that's where ultimately we want to get it to. Of course, we've sort of penetrated the various Catholic sites and publications, but I find it concerning and perplexing that more people, once we've presented this evidence, because Eddie, all this evidence is on the internet. I mean, every time we've gotten a report, no matter what it said, we've put it on the internet and put it out there for anyone to view at any time. and, ask us questions about it and publish the resumes of all the specialists. But what's concerning to me is that rather than just look at it objectively, many people look at it subjectively and from the sort of a combative stance where you're looking at it as a member of a group, this group or that group. Well, what about the facts? Where do the facts point? And we can read it in our own way based on our own understanding and our own faith and theological outlook. But let's look at the facts and see what are the consequences of those facts. Where does it lead us? And I challenge anyone to look at our evidence on sisterlucytruth.org, make a judgment, or even open up the question, because that's all we're asking people to do is think about the question and what are the implications if there is an imposter who was put in her place. What are the implications? What other questions does that bring up? And how is the Vatican going to respond to this? And, the Carmel at Coimbra, and even to somewhat degree Opus Dei, the Opus Dei organization, because the nuns at Coimbra are cooperators with Opus Dei. So they have some questions that have to be answered. But I think the easiest way of approaching all this information is silence. Just, the shroud of silence that is covering us now. But we're not going to be silent. And with our friends here and with yourself, we want to get this information out because it's critical. It's critical to understand what happened to her, because if we can't understand what happened to Sister Lucy, then how do we understand Fatima? How are we to understand everything that she supposedly said after 1960? Because the imposter, the woman that I believe now is an imposter based on what we've seen, she really performed a certain role. And they didn't just put an imposter there for no reason whatsoever. She was to follow a certain line, and she's followed that line. And I think that if the evidence clearly points there being an imposter, then we have to ask ourselves, well, why was there an imposter put in the first place? And what did they intend her to do? Why not just say Sister Lucy had died and that be the end of it? Why put it in imposter? It's to create a false narrative, really. And the question is, what is that false narrative? And what did they want us to believe?